Hello, fellow seekers. Welcome back to the Law of One Spiritual Advice Podcast. My name is El, and I return to philosophize on some spiritual topics and the Law of One and share with you my philosophy and how I interpret these things. So today we have quite a few things to talk about, actually. I have 3 quotes lined up, and they're all from the same transcript. And so if I'm to give you an idea of what we will be talking about, it's mostly about how to fall in love with yourself. However, we're also going to be talking about the balancing technique. It's just a sort of way of looking at the shadow side of yourself and I suppose not living in denial and basically tuning yourself and balancing yourself in a manner which is conducive to your growth. And so there's a bit of a trick that you can do that helps the mind deal with more difficult things that it would rather not deal with. And that would be sort of the balancing technique, which has a lot to do with fear and blockages that we experience in our life because of fear. And then we will talk about how to also just tune the self. Of course, there's the balancing technique, which is about sort of keeping yourself in the heart. And then there's also tuning the self and staying in the flow of the moment and dealing with the should-haves. Should I have done this? Should I have done that? As we are very self-critical sometimes when we are, on this spiritual path of seeking the heart of self. So we're going to start with how to fall in love with yourself, and this is going to be some quotes from Quo. This is from the LL research material. It's a little bit different from the raw material that I usually read you, which is unconscious channeling. It's very specific in their wording. With this type of channeling, with Quo, it's going to be conscious channeling, which will hold more bias from the channeler. But all is well. I sort of trust this channeler. She's since passed away, but I trust her in her tuning and the messages that she brings through. They seem to be very resonant with the Law of One material, which I also hold as on a sort of pedestal of truth to compare other things to. So there is the balancing technique in the raw material, but this is from Quo, and they just speak in more human terms. So if you have trouble understanding a lot of the raw material, you may better be served by reading the transcripts from Quo and others, which are just more like human speak, down to earth, not being so specific as to lose the message in the wording, like Ra likes to do. But then, if they didn't do that, where would I be, right? I need to communicate these things. This is where my gift lies. All right, you guys, so let's get started here. So this is from a transcript from November 24th, 2007. You can get links to this on my website, theoneinfinitecreator.com, and I have links to the LL Research Group, who provides us all of this material for free. Thank you. So this is from session November 24th, 2007, and we're going to be talking about falling in love with yourself. And so here we go. Quo states, "It is necessary, really, for you to fall in love with yourself. Self-judgment cannot be overcome. It must be balanced by compassion. You are bound to make mistakes and come under the possibility of judgment. Yet also do you have within you creatorship, so that you are never in a position of having failed for longer than it takes for you to turn again to the light and start afresh. There are various techniques for falling in love with yourself. If you are present with yourself and become aware of the wide range of emotions that you feel, that may be the most direct way to become kindly affectioned towards yourself, to like yourself, and to ultimately, gloriously, genuinely, truly fall in love with yourself. Just as you are perfect. This need not give you any cause for arrogance or pride. All entities are perfect. All entities are the creator. Yet you dwell in the creation that you have made. So pamper yourself with good thoughts, good experiences, and frequent dips in the waters of truth and beauty and inspiration in whatever ways appeal to you." End of quote for now, because I'm going to read you 2 more parts of these paragraphs, which are in succession, but I want to stop there so we can talk about it a bit. So, of course, when we talk about loving ourselves, a lot of people may judge you that this is a sort of arrogant thing, a prideful thing to do. But let I remind you again that you can only be as loving and kind to others as you are capable of being loving and kind to yourself. If you wish to maybe fake it till you make it. Well, that's fair enough. You can try that. But the thing is that it is still sort of like, like you're trying to love others from a deaf heart. It's like, how can you love others when you don't know your own heart? How can you use your heart when you haven't even entered it yourself? You like to say, well, of course I can feel love for others, but can you feel love for yourself? And, maybe some people it's vice versa. It may be easier to love themselves versus loving others. But I think we live in a world with social media where everyone is so self-critical that it is very hard to love yourself. It's very hard to not look at all the other people in life and social media and that are in our faces that are maybe doing seemingly better than you, or have, thoughts and ideas that are expressing them better than you. And, there's a lot of ways to look at yourself and realize how you're not doing perfectly. But this is the idea here, is that doing things is not so much as important as the quality of your love. So the quality of your love is what's really important here, and what you do is almost irrelevant. I mean, you can do anything with love in your heart or without love in your heart, and to me it's about the love in your heart that matters. I could serve 1,000 people without love in my heart, and I could instead find the harmony and love within myself and clean the bathroom. and in my opinion, the cleaning of the bathroom in love and honor and respect is a lot more powerful than the non-loving sharing of whatever the information is that you're trying to share with others. So suppose we need to be humble with ourselves. Of course, goals and things that we want to push for, we should keep doing, but we should hold them in a perspective that is fair towards ourselves and doesn't overstep the bounds of what is fair for yourself in terms of loving yourself. So when you're being self-critical with yourself, it's okay to the point that you are having a moment of reality, maybe a little bit of a slap in the face as to, okay, you got to get this done, my friend. Like, come on, this isn't all just love and light and woo-woo. We got to get some physical things done on this earth, which is true. But you're already perfect. You're already one with the Creator. You are never not one with all. And I know maybe that is a bit of a spiritual bypassing thing, but to me, it doesn't really matter if you're doing all sorts of goals and have all these things lined up in your head and your life. Whereas if you're not working on the heart and balancing the heart and trying to enter the heart and realize when it closes, etc., to me, you're sort of living the illusory life. Of course, there is no mistakes. There are surprises. A walk down one path may lead you to another path, which may serve you better. And so there is no real wrong way to walk down a path, as I, seemingly contradict myself here. But that's the idea here, is that you do have a balance with the heart, and you use that heart. And we're going to go into more so what that means in this next quote when we talk about fear and the balancing technique. The balancing technique is going to help you basically look at your life and the catalysts and the experiences that happen to you, and then see them from a perspective as to which areas in your life, in your day, closed your heart. Those are maybe you call them triggers, but those are the signposts as to where your shadow side needs work, where you need to probably do some balancing techniques, and you need to be kind to yourself and love yourself, and so you can re-enter the heart. And so here we're going to talk about the balancing technique, fear, and staying in the open heart. So quote continues on, they state, however fear does come upon you, it will block the flow of energy through the chakra system. And so we recommend the exercise of balancing to be performed at least daily in the evening at the end of your day when you have a little time to reflect on what has occurred. Ask yourself what thoughts you may have had this day, where your even tenor and your open heart were interrupted even momentarily. And then move to those points of departure from the even keel of an open and flowing energy body. If some issue has arisen that has closed the heart even for a second, it is well to move into that emotion again, relive it, and even exaggerate it so that you have a very conscious and thoughtful awareness of what just happened. Just what it was that caused that feeling of, say, impatience, anger, jealousy, or even great joy. Anything that takes you away from the open heart and stops the flow of energy is deserving of an examination. And once you have thoroughly re-experienced this moment where catalyst became too much for you and closed your energy system down, then allow yourself to begin to experience the dynamic opposite of that emotion. If you felt impatience because of another driver on the road cutting you off, charging onto the expressway without regard to your car, imagine the situation again, only this time imagine yourself having complete patience and utter tranquility, and emphasize and exaggerate that feeling until you are swept away by it. Then release both dynamic opposites of patience and impatience and see how much more balanced you feel. Do this in the case of each of those thoughts or emotions that have thrown you off balance during the day. Reflect upon each of them, honor them, experience them, balance them, and restore your energy body to a good, even flow. End of quote. So once again, it is basically a matter of paying attention to your day and your heart and taking note of the times that you are pulled away from the heart. And it is actually worth noting in this that they do talk about the numerous types of feelings, and obviously a lot of them will be negative sounding things, but there's even a positive one in there. Balancing has to be done even with positive emotions. So they say here impatience, anger, jealousy, or even great joy. So I suppose the idea is to be balanced. My brain often operates like this, and I kind of thought that everyone's brain operated like this, and then I realized later in life that no, it's more so something that I do. So I kind of do the balancing technique almost daily in my life, and that is more so just to see that there's a wide range of possibilities that exist, a wide range of perceptions to choose from, a wide range of choices to choose, a wide range of feelings to feel, due to anything that is in front of you, either whether that be an opinion about a political matter or whether it just be about a fight or some kind of, relationship thing. There is that emphasis of any kind of feeling which is going to take you away from that open, steady, flowing heart. And so of course the negative things will pull you from the heart, but I just think of a positive one. What if you get so overly excited and stoked about something that's in your life, but you can be excited to a point that your heart is still closed down, like you're not necessarily in the flow of the moment, you're like ecstatic, high energy, which is not necessarily the energy of the loving, flowing, easygoing heart, in my opinion. So like I said, I do this in my life a lot where I seem to see those wide range of things. And it obviously actually gets me in a lot of trouble with my friends and family and pretty much anybody who interacts with me, because anytime that I see somebody who is so very certain about a specific feeling or thought, you can see that there's like, if you have a needle, like on your car, which shows you how fast you're going, 0 and then up to like 200 or something, right? You have this needle. So the way I see this thing is think of the needle as ranges of perception instead. If I see somebody who's acting as if this one truth is only correct, as in the needle only points in this one direction and it's not possible to point the needle in the other directions to interpret this thing, I like to point that out to people. So of course I need to do this for myself, which I do in my head, but then I try to, basically widen the perception of other people, which will get me in trouble. Why? Because basically I'm being like the devil's advocate. It's sort of just saying that, hey, do you realize you have a very narrow vision of the thing that you're describing to me right now? Do you realize that this other version of this perception exists? And if they're willing to accept it and then say, yes, of course, that other version exists, but, I feel this way because of so and so and so, well, great, right? I like that. I just like the idea that people at least are aware of the wide variety of emotions and feelings and thoughts, the wide variety of perceptions that can be taken, and just aren't taking them for granted. Of course, you should be somewhat confident in your views, but only so if they're not so narrowly defined. If you at least have a wide perception of things, of, hey, this could be true, that could be true, but this is where I stand within my truth, to me, that is way more healthy than somebody who just ignorantly has a narrow vision and says, hey, this is the only truth I know, and so this is the truth. You must deal with my truth. So, of course, I'm explaining this about other people, but bring it back to yourself. It's the same sort of thing. Anytime that you feel that you are so confident about a certain thing, about the way you felt, about a certain situation, I mean, call BS on yourself, my friend. That's what I do. I like to say, hey, brain, you think so strongly about this, don't you? Well, I know that my brain needs to be balanced with my heart. And so I like to question myself and doubt myself in those very overly confident things that my brain likes to assume. And I like to do these type of balancing techniques, which would basically be to, I like the example they give here with the car. If you're driving a car is an amazing thing for spiritual growth because you don't necessarily get to interact with others and they get to have their mask of anonymity as they, cut you off or act the way that they do and not necessarily get the repercussions of what you would like to say to them. Or, another thing is that you don't even really know how they feel. What if somebody cut you off? Do you think it was a purposeful thing or maybe they just did it on accident? They don't have very good eyes. They didn't see very well when they didn't shoulder check and they pulled over into the thing. So anyways, the idea here with the driving is that, yes, somebody cuts you off. Your first trigger response is, I'm mad. You've put my life in jeopardy. How dare you? How dare you, good sir? So those are your obvious trigger reactions. So what would I do in my head? Well, yeah, later on or even during that time right as it happened, I can try to feel the wide range of emotions that are possible in that moment. So the first one being the most obvious is to be triggered and to fall back into my red ray chakra, the lower chakra, and say, hey, you threatened my life. How dare you? And that is a true and valid perception, right? There's nothing necessarily wrong with it. It is true, but we would like to elevate this perception from the red chakra, from our lowest instinct chakra, up to some higher ones, up to the orange, yellow, and green in the heart. And so how do we do that? Well, you work with that emotion. You go into it, you feel it with all that rage and hatred, and you amplify that feeling until it comes to a point that it's almost ridiculous. Like, would you want to physically harm somebody? Take it to that point in your head, obviously in your imagination, but would you physically harm somebody if they cut you off on the road? Obviously, that would be the point to take it to in your imagination as to where it would lead if you did the seemingly most negative reaction that you could do. And then the other thing you could do is you could now take that impatience and that anger and try to balance it with its opposite and say, well, how would I react if I was in a, seemingly perfectly harmonized state and my heart was opened? How would I deal with this as if my heart was opened? In other words, what is the opposite of this feeling? And the opposite of that feeling would be patience, love, grace, right? Grace for the other selves. Grace is a huge one in all these sorts of things. It's like, you may have made a mistake and I'm sorry that you did that. And I'm sorry that I reacted in the way that I did. We all are not perfect. And, I'm so sorry that I held you to a standard of perfection that I am not even capable of being myself. And yeah, so there you go. Patience, grace. And so the idea is, it's not necessarily going to perfect anything. This balancing technique, the way it works is that it's a slow process. The idea is that next time you're in traffic, you hopefully are going to react in a more spontaneous manner that is more resonant with how you feel that you sort of should have reacted appropriately. And that goes into our next quote, which I will talk about with the shoulds, the should haves. What should I have done? There is always a seemingly more perfect way that you can react, but the thing about this spiritual seeking is that it's a thing about spontaneity. It's about your spontaneous reactions to things. You cannot force yourself to feel a certain way. You can only feel that way and then understand later why you felt that way. Go into it experience it, try to integrate it so that the next time you experience that catalyst, you can react from a higher perception, one that is spontaneously more in line with what you would call harmony, I suppose. And I said this on a previous podcast, and someone said they liked it, so I'll like to share this one again. So picture a spiral. Not just a circle, a spiral, like a spring that moves up. It goes in a circle, but it moves higher and higher and higher from the previous time. So if you're doing spiritual work, or really if you're doing any work at all, that is the nature, my understanding of life, is that the catalyst will come around and around again. The experience will come around and around again, and it may be repetitive, but you get to deal with it from a higher perception compared to the last time where you were. And so that, hopefully, is where in between those two moments, you've done some balancing techniques, which has allowed you then on the next time that catalyst comes around to spontaneously react in not the exact same manner. Instead, a manner which is more aware of the wider range of possibilities of perception and choice, and I suppose choosing the one that you feel most resonant with being the appropriate response. And so now that is what we're going to talk about with the shoulds, because it's always a tricky thing, this spiritual stuff with paradoxes, where we think that, well, we should be doing this, we should be perfect, why are we not? And then we're going to talk about how to at least attempt to be in a seemingly perfect state by tuning the self and staying in the flow of that spontaneity of the moment. So, Quo continues on, and they state, "We do not suggest shaping your thoughts because you know those are the thoughts you should have. Should is not a word that is helpful in spiritual seeking. It has nothing to do with the open and spontaneous flow of the love and the light of the one infinite creator with whom you are attempting to work. Each of your thoughts is appropriate in its own way, and true and good, and it is what it is. Therefore, it is in that open and spontaneous flow of thinking and acting and feeling that the meat of the seeker's learning lies. So when we say to tune up the self, we do not mean to alter the behavior, but rather to open the self to the awareness of the Creator. When you are able to do this even momentarily, it opens up the chakra body and allows the energy to move freely. This entity is a mystical Christian." They're talking about Carla here, the channeler. So they say, "This entity is a mystical Christian, and often she has one word prayer that she uses. It is Jesus. That one word can alter her entire attitude. There are keywords for each of you. For the one known as R, it is the word remember. Find those key phrases that make your heart smile and that restore the flow of good energy through your body." End of quote. So of course, you don't want to force yourself into being a fake spiritual person, a fake lover, a fake of anything. You do want to have your spontaneous reactions come out into the world. And why? So that they can interact with the world and come back to you. And that may be in the form of karma, but I don't really see it like karma, right? What if you're out there doing good? Well, then the karma that comes back is good. It's more just that what you put out into the world spontaneously from the interior of the trueness of your being, it gets to go out into the world. Like I see it like vibration, and as the vibration leaves you, it bounces off and resonates with other things in its environment, and it comes back to you to give you the feedback of your vibration, mixed up with other vibrations. And so it's this mirror world where you can't force the vibration to come from you. It's inauthentic. It's going to be coming from a lower state if it's not from an authentic place within you. But once you do get to that authentic place, the harmony and the love that you can be putting out is way higher quality than if you were to sort of unconsciously deny all of these things and and just react in a way which is a repetitive state of anger and fear, and you neglect to go into your heart, and you neglect to try to balance the perceptions and the views and the tuning of yourself. Yeah, it's just better to look at yourself like a long-term project, and that perfection is probably beyond you. We are all imperfectly perfect. We are all portions of the Creator. And in that, we have free will to make choices as we see fit. And so why not at least just have a wider perception of the wide range of choices that exist, and therefore, when we're putting things out into the world and they come back to us, they can come back to us in a way that teaches us more about ourselves, teaches us about our triggers, teaches us about the places where we have been removed from the heart. And then you don't have to worry so much about what you should be doing. You can instead just release the flow and sort of just relax and understand that thy will be done, and that I know that I do not know, and it is only within the moment that I try to find love within this moment. That is all that really matters. And if you don't see the love in the moment, then you can try to be that love in the moment. But that doesn't require you to be constantly anxious about the future, about how you're going to react to this or that. I mean, you just have to take yourself, like I said, as a steady, long project, and understand that the learning comes seemingly slow. And so your vibration, the changing of the internal attitudes of yourself can take time. They say you don't want to force it. We don't say you should be a certain way. It's not helpful to spiritual seeking. It's more helpful to be spontaneous in your reactions, and then take the feedback from those reactions into the self introspectively, and understand why it is that you react the way you act. Why is it that you reacted not in love? If you want to give yourself a simple question when you're doing these balancing techniques, it's the question is why did I not react in love? And then go in and do the anger thing, find the folly of the anger, and then balance it with its opposite of extreme grace and patience and love, and feel which one's better. And when you feel which one is better, which one was more appropriate to react to, then the next time it comes around, hopefully you will react that way. And if you don't, well, that's okay. You've been given another gift, that the shadow work that you think you're not doing it maybe as well as you thought, and you maybe need to be more honest with yourself about those types of things. So then they just briefly here talking about tune up the self. And like they said, they don't want to necessarily tell you to alter your behavior, but there are certain things that you can do to tune yourself, to get yourself into a more appropriate state that allows you to spontaneously react in the ways that you see fit. And so, like they said, the channeler here is a mystical Christian, so she loves that Jesus guy, who I I consider being an analogy for the open heart. You may not come to the Father except through me, and I just sort of see like the Father as the indigo violet ray, the top chakras, where we reach the oneness, the unity, the infinity of the Creator, but you can't get there except through the heart. You can't get to God except through Jesus, except through the heart. And so, to me, she uses the word Jesus. What do I use to tune, right? They said here there's somebody by the name of R, which I don't know who that is, just like I call myself L. They call themselves R in this, and wouldn't you know that's where I got that sort of format from, to call myself L. But they say the guy's tuning word was remember. Let me think. What is my tuning word or phrase? I don't know if I have a specific phrase. I mean, yeah, I guess I do specifically, and this may be weird to you because it was weird to me at first when I was saying it, but yeah, the one infinite creator. I say that word each day when I put my little Ankh necklace on, and I sort of use that as a reminder and a tuning device. But I also tune myself. I'm a creature of music. I really like music. And a good way to tune yourself is to, like they would, I suppose Carla, the channeler in this material, she would probably use some sort of prayer or something from the Bible. I myself, don't mind the Bible or whatever. I'm just not really that super religious type of person. And so that's not necessarily what resonates with me as much as maybe a nice song, right? A song can open my heart like no other. And there's actually a really, really wonderful song, which I share with people from time to time. And if you would like to go onto YouTube to find it, it's called Faya Wata. And you got to spell it that way. F-I-Y-A space W-A-T-A, like fire, water, but Faya Wata. And it's Edward Sharpe. And it's basically, I just always use her lyrics as a tuning device, because I think maybe it was just the first time I heard that song, I just had like a wonderful experience where I sort of like cried even, it's really opened my heart. All right, so here we go. How does it go? It goes, I'm sending you all my love, you with a heart to feel it. Feel it. You with a broken heart, you know love will heal it. Heal it. Love go ahead. Love stand beside us. Love go within each heart to guide us. All right. Oh my God, you guys, I can't believe I've sang you a song now twice. I was like 20 podcasts ago, I sang some songs, and I am so scared to listen to this after. But it's not about that. It's about the words. So I'm sending you all my love, you with a heart to feel it, you with a broken heart. You know, love will heal it. Love go ahead. Love stand beside us. Love go within each heart to guide us. That lifts me up, brings a wonderful tune to my heart, to my being, puts me in a good state where, I don't know, I'm just able to sit back, relax, look at the world, let it pass by. Not necessarily, but, see the illusions for what they are, illusions to make us think. And really, this whole third density is a holographic projection of the one. Sort of seems like no matter what you do, where you go, how hard you try not to, you're going to run into these lessons of life, of lessons of love, which are the lessons of choosing service to others or service to self exclusively in the way that you wish to react, which is another kind of way of saying, hey, would you like to open your heart or not open your heart? And so if you're listening to this, I hope you open your heart. I hope you're attempting to try that. And I hope that you go listen to that song because it is a wonderful little live song, which always touches my heart and gets me into a wonderful space. And just if you're listening to it, know that I'm listening to it with you in time, space somewhere, and we are harmonizing together at the moment. So anyways, you guys, thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. If you did, please give it a like. That lets me know that you appreciate the topics and the time that I spent doing this. You can leave a comment. Let me know how you felt. Give it a share. Maybe this resonated with you. Share it in a group somewhere. Share it on a Facebook group, Discord. I don't even know what the heck that is, but share it around. Get my stuff out there, because if you feel it is helpful, I would like it to get to somebody who you think might need it. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, and if you find value in what I do, I would very much appreciate it if you would go on to my Patreon or shoot me a one-time PayPal. It allows me to give all of this information freely, which I feel is very important in doing, is freely giving service. And so freely give, freely receive. Thank you so much for those who do give. It allows me to freely give as well to all others. So, you maybe contributing to me allows me to contribute to others in a free basis. And so you, my friends, help me. And maybe I help you, and I know just a wonderful way this whole service to others stuff works, and the harmony that we can create when we, hold each other up and help each other. And so, yes, I know life is tough out there, my friends. I hope you are kind to yourself and you learn to love yourself patiently and gracefully and take the time that you need. And yeah, I just hope that you have a wonderful rest of the week. Take care.